Mike Pompeo has always been straight-spoken, and in our one-on-one interview, the former Secretary of State didn't disappoint. One of the things on his mind, a new administration that he says doesn't seem to be putting America first.
You know, the big picture challenge is that they just think about America's place in the world so differently than the Trump administration did, right? We had America first at the center of everything we did. This administration seems to have a different set of priorities.
Among his concerns, Joe Biden's views on Iran.
Do you believe this Biden administration is in the appeasement business when it comes to dealing with Iran?
We saw last week that they gave a wink and a nod to what appears to be enormous financial relief to the Iranian regime. We put massive pressure on the regime, and it looks like they're going to allow billions of dollars in wealth to go from South Korea and the IMF into Iran and essentially take a foot off the stranglehold that we had on the Iranian regime. This is not a good start.
Sounds like you're concerned about appeasement for sure.
Yes, I am.
And that concern ties directly to the security of Israel, a situation that concerns him greatly now that the Biden team is in charge.
Are you concerned that they will not be pro-Israel, if you will?
I do worry. Historically, it's been bipartisan. It hasn't been a Republican deal or a Democrat deal. Mm-hmm. This administration was awfully slow on the draw with respect to Israel.
Pompeo clearly doesn't hold back. On China, before he left his post in January, he questioned whether COVID-19 came from a lab in Wuhan. To this day, he still thinks it's very possible.
We don't know for sure, but there's ample evidence and a cover-up that probably is worse than the initial problem set inside the lab that we know, right? We know these Chinese labs that were doing this bio research have had escapes before.
Nowadays, Pompeo is getting his voice out in different ways by joining a couple of think tanks and also on the speaking circuit. At the recent CPAC conference, Pompeo pleased the crowd, even placing in the top 5 of a 2024 presidential straw poll. For now, he's focused on helping the GOP win back Congress in 2022. He has stood side by side with Donald Trump and has a message for those Trump critics.
It is an enormous head scratcher for me when people waver about the legacy of the work that President Trump and our team did for these past 4 years. It's the right direction. When I see Republicans step away and not embrace what it is right for the American people and for our movement, I just don't get it.
As for those Americans who came to peacefully protest the election on January 6th, he stands with them.
Those are folks who just wanted to come express their enormous disappointment with the outcome from the election and the fact that they weren't giving up. They were still in the fight, and I want to be alongside them. I want to be with them in that fight.
He is also taking a stand on faith, especially America's Judeo-Christian history.
What has happened to this country as it relates to from a spiritual standpoint?
I know he's watching over us. This is a very special nation that I have been so privileged to grow up in. Those of us who believe that, those of us who understand the founding and understand the Judeo-Christian traditions of the United States of America, have every responsibility to be bold, to speak about this, to be proud of this heritage, and to continue to build on it.
David Brody, CBN News, Washington.